could you explain for the people that doesn't know the Bosnian pyramids, how that works, what it is?
Right. Well, now a lot of people have a lot of different things to say about the Bosnian pyramid complex. Academia will tell you that it doesn't exist. They say, well, Wikipedia says it's just a bunch of hills.
Hmm.
And I was like, well, my answer to that is, if it's just a bunch of hills, natural hills, what did I do for 23 months there? Because I was there for 23 months total. 3 months as volunteer, then I came back for, let's see, 19 months, and then I came back for 4 months. Is that adding up to 23? Anyway, I kept returning, and I spent so much time photographing every inch of that complex, making videos with scientists who came to visit the complex. I put together a Wikipedia page that was all of the scientific papers that had been delivered by scientists who came to visit the complex, did research on the ground, boots on the ground, looking at the terrain, digging up stuff, doing energy, really sophisticated energetic readings there, finding a scalar beam there at the top of the pyramid of the sun, all this stuff, a 22 kilohertz beam that was also a scalar beam. That's Goran Marjanović's work. So much sophisticated science there. And there's been there had been at that time when I was writing the articles for Wikipedia, there had been 5 scientific conferences of scientists from all over the world who would come to Visoko, which is in the heart of the Bosnian Pyramid Complex, or sometimes they'd go to Sarajevo, which is just a little bit south of there, and have the conference. And they would deliver their papers. So I listed in the Wikipedia article all the papers in all the different languages, because some of the titles, it was delivered in Italian or Bosnian or English, So I got it all done, and I had to learn Wikipedia coding, and that was really hard for me because I'm not one of those guys that can do that. And so after 3 months, I had this article that would take like 2 weeks to really read it with all the hyperlinks and everything, because it was hyperlinked to every single paper that had been delivered. It was like more than 80 papers. And so by real scientists, they weren't just kooks, they weren't just tourists, they were scientists. And I sent this to Wikipedia, and they immediately denied it. It was like 10 minutes, and they denied it. And I was like, why did you deny this article? And they go, well, because in our files, we have Bosnian pyramids listed as a hoax. So anything to do with the Bosnian pyramids, they just deny it. Bam, it's done. And it's like, yeah, but who listed it as a hoax? I'd like his name.
Yeah.
I didn't ask him that, but because they're not going to give me the name.
And the reason also, not only the name, but the reasons why they see.
Well, and the reason is that academia, see, because academia and Wikipedia are basically one thing. So academia says there are no pyramids in Bosnia. Wikipedia says, oh, academia is telling us there are no pyramids in Bosnia. And then academia goes, Wikipedia is telling us that there are no pyramids in Bosnia. So it's like an echo chamber of nonsense. We can't change the Wikipedia page. If you've ever tried to change a page on Wikipedia to give it some more information, if they don't want you to change it, you cannot change it no matter what you give them. No matter what science, no matter how credibly, if they don't like this subject, they will just keep it that way. So nobody can change. We've been trying to change because they don't even have a page for the Bosnian pyramids on Wikipedia. It's just called Bosnian Pyramid Claims. So it's already saying it's a hoax just in the title of the Wikipedia page, So, so we have an academia that work really hard to suppress this, and you're like, why did they do that? So I'm in the complex trying to pump out these videos, right? Working as a professional videographer, even though I'm a writer. I'm not even a videographer, but I'm a guy with a really good camera. And so I'm working every day as a videographer, making videos with scientists, interviewing tourists, and having Semir in the video. He's going on explorations in the tunnel, so I'll follow him into some new water channel that they opened up in Rodney Tunnel, which is a prehistoric tunnel in the complex. And it was exciting, really exciting stuff, new stuff, frontier archaeology. And academia is like, no, we're not gonna promote that. We're gonna put a lid on it. You will never hear anything about the Bosnian pyramids so nobody knows about them. Still, I talk to people and they go, Bosnian pyramids, what? So back then I was pumping YouTube with these videos that I was making, short scientific videos, and it was my job to wake up the world. It wasn't just my job to make the videos, it was my job to promote the videos and make sure that people knew about these damn videos so that people wouldn't see with their own eyes the terrain. So this is what you're talking about. You're saying it's cool that we have a way to look at real objects in the world to learn things instead of taking the other route and going to academia and hearing about somebody who may or may not have been on the terrain themselves. But you can already still see that I'm pumped up. I'm 66. I'm pumped up about the fucking Bosnian pyramids still. And it's been like 14 years, that I found out about them. So to answer your question, I got into the riverbed. This was month 17. It took me 17 months of being there to ask a question. Here's the question. Where is the foundation of the pyramids? Do they start in the town of Visoko? Because what happens is you have the Pyramid of the Sun, which is the tallest documented pyramid on the planet, even though academia will tell you it's just a hill. And the east side of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun goes straight into the Fojnica River, Fojnica, and they pronounce it Fojnica in Bosnia. So if you look at a topographical map, you see that it goes straight into the river. But if you don't do that, you just think, oh, it probably starts because Visoko here's the river, here's the pyramid east side. And Visoko is kind of like down here next to the river, this town, and it's kind of flattish. And then, so you think, oh, the foundation's probably somewhere before the town, and then there's the river. So nobody ever asked that question, as far as I can tell. And I was like, I wonder where the foundation is. I wonder if the riverbed is the foundation. Because even though when you're in Visoko, you can't see this straight line into the riverbed, when you step back and look at a topographical map, it's obvious. So I was like, topography is telling me that the riverbed is the foundation. And if it is the foundation, it's going to be built the same way that the pyramid is, So I went into the riverbed that day, August 5, 2015, I think it was. I made lots of videos, took lots of photos, so it's all documented. And I told Semir, probably the next day, we went to make a video about something else, and I said, hey, the riverbed's built. I just found out that it's the riverbed and the riverbanks are built in the same way that the pyramids are. It's the foundation. And there's not just of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, but then the Bosnian Pyramid of the Moon, boom, right on the other side. Osiela Hill, right on the other side. Pyramid of Love, right on the other side. So there's 4 huge structures, and the river is the foundation for all of them. So they're all tied together through the river. So it's like this mega structure, and the water coming down and possibly flooding cannot get under the pyramids because the pyramids are not set on the earth. They're joined to the next pyramid over here. So the water's going over your pyramid complex instead of taking your pyramids out from the side in a flooding event, So it's absolutely genius engineering. It's genius. Water cannot take down your pyramids because it's all one structure. And I was like, oh my God, this is really cool. I wonder where the riverbed ends. In other words, I wonder where they stopped building it and it's back to being a natural riverbed again. So I followed it out. I went upstream of the Fojnica River, and I was like, a couple miles. No, it's still built. And then I took a taxi out a few more miles. No, it's still built. And then I went in a van with some friends, and I went to the primary tributary. There's 12 tributaries. And the primary one's called the Dragaca River. So the Dragaca River comes in, it's going east, then it flows south, then it goes north, and it goes north through the complex as the Fojnica. But so it joins, it's going east and it joins the Fojnica. So I said, okay, I'm gonna go west on the Dragaca, and I'm gonna find a place that's really far away from the Bosnian Pyramid complex and see if this is built too, the primary tributary. And it was still built. And I was like, if they built the primary tributary, they probably built the other 11 smaller tributaries. And I know that the main riverbed was built as the foundation for the pyramids, which means that all of the hills along all 12 tributaries were also built. Because if you're building a foundation for something, whether it's pyramids or hills, I mean, whatever's alongside of it is going to be built too. And I found evidence of that too. And it's all documented. It's endlessly documented because I just took my camera everywhere. So I documented that. I told Semir, he goes, it would be a lot of work. So I love Semir. He was not prepared to hear that the riverbeds were built. He thought that was too much work. And I was thinking, well, it's more work to build a pyramid, set it on the earth, have a flood take it out, and have to build the pyramid again. If you join the pyramids through the riverbed, boom, you've got a structure that will last forever.
Yeah, because you don't have like a natural thing that can destroy it because it's built. Because that's the other thing, it's built. That's the crazy part. But it's built in a way that it can't be destructed, as you say. So this is very interesting. What's your thoughts the first moment you start like connecting the dots here? What's like, where's your mind when like the first thing you begin thinking about?
Well, Samuel, I'm a playwright. So I was like, why am I the guy who is going to investigate the Dragica River to find out if it's built like the Fornica is? Shouldn't there be an archaeologist or a geologist doing this? If it's a geologist exploring this idea, the geologist would have to come to the conclusion that he's actually doing archaeology. Because if he finds that the Dragica tributary to the Fornica River is built, and if he finds that the Fornica is built, then he's actually studying an ancient artifact, and artifacts come under archaeology. If it's an archaeologist, the archaeologist would have to first be convinced that this geological feature, this tributary and this river, are actually artificial features, artifacts, for him to even investigate it. So neither of them are going to investigate it in the proper way. The only reason I did was because I'd been there for 17 months and I was like, where the fuck is the foundation of these these massive structures? Because they're so huge, you can't even really see the features of them, the specific features. It's really hard to find a corner of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. I know that sounds weird. You'd like, why couldn't you find a corner? Well, there's all this vegetation over it. They're built out of clay, and the clay is very fertile. And so there's all these trees, and the Bosnian government actually planted a bunch of trees on the pyramid to try to hide it as a. They didn't want people to think of it as a pyramid, I think, but it still looks like a pyramid if you get far enough back. So anyway, now the other thing is, Samuel, this is terminology that your audience might not be familiar with, and so I'm going to explain it in some detail. I believe, and like I said, other people have different views of this. Even Semir has a different view of this. So he can have his view. That's fine. He's the one who discovered them. Great. I'm all for him. I'm 100% in support of Semir Osmanagic, okay? So I want to make that clear. He's awesome. I'm probably his biggest fan, okay? Now, I believe that the pyramids are a late-stage terraforming project. What does that mean? It means that I believe that the continent builders, the people who built the continents, all 6 or all 7, depending on how you number them, were also interested in repairing or making adjuncts to their continental features over time. So 35,000 years ago, they came back and said, we're going to build a clay structure here. It's going to be a landscape feature, just like any other hills and around, you know. It's not going to be pyramids set on the earth like in Egypt or like in Mexico or like in Central America. It's not blocks stacked up and set on the earth. It's going to be structures that may have a pyramidal shape. And the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun is a 3-sided structure. Semir says it's a 4-sided structure. Well, it's 3-sided. Anybody can see that with the topographical map. And it's totally fine. I love Samir. I'm not going to get into an argument with Samir. He'll win any argument because he's got this power. I'm not going to do that. But I'm just telling people it's three-sided and anybody can see that. And that's fine. Whether it's three-sided or four-sided, it still acts as a pyramid. So you've got this pyramidal structure, but it's built into the landscape. In other words, it's part of the landscape. That's why no one saw it for thousands of years. They built their castles on, the kings built their castles on the top of it because it had a view of everything, because it was the tallest structure around. So 35,000 years ago, the same people, ETs, came back and they said, we're going to make an adjunct to our continents right here, where these two rivers meet. We're going to amplify the natural river. I assume there was a natural river there to begin with, and they just built over it. I don't know. Maybe they fully created their own river system. I don't know. I'm assuming they built on top of a natural river system. But then again, what is natural? Because if the continents were built, then the natural river system had also been built. So anyway, so they came back, they built this thing out of clay, and I can show you exactly, if you and I went to Bosnia, I could show you where the clay pyramid complex, called the Bosnian Pyramid Complex, starts. It starts, you can see it in the riverbed in the Fojnica, right at something called Buci Bridge, B-U-C-I. At that bridge, if you go underneath the bridge and into the riverbed, you see there's clay going north, which is downstream, into the pyramid complex, and it's all clay. Everything's clay. South of that, in the riverbed, you see concrete. It's a completely different material, and there's a place where it stops being clay, and you're like, okay, that's where they did this repair job. The continent builders came back, did a repair job. This is prehistory, so there wasn't anybody around writing books about, hey, some weird ETs came back and they're building some pyramids. No one's writing anything. There's just tribes and gathering berries and throwing spears. And if they saw something weird, they would probably just run away. They're not going to record it for history. There's no history of this. And that's why academia is against it. They're like, we've never heard of anybody who could build pyramids 35,000 years ago. They're chucking spears around. So that's what they say. So a late stage continent building, terraforming, I call it, for the forming of the terrain. Other people think of terraforming as nuking ice caps on Mars, which is what Elon wants to do, or changing climate. I think of terraforming as what it says, the forming of the land. So they came back, they formed the land out of clay. How'd they do it? I'm just going to do this really quick, 1 second, and then I'll stop talking. They used alternating hard and soft clay layers in the Bosnian Pyramid Complex. Everything is built out of a hard structural layer built on top of a soft clay layer, and they're all clay. So the structural layer is made of baked clay stones set next to each other, right? And that those baked clay stone layers are inclined into the structure. So if you're looking straight at the pyramid's here. Oh, look, there's a pyramid. The clay layers are not horizontal; they're inclined in. So that if there's an earthquake, the layers, the hard structural layers, slide on the soft clay a little bit, and they go toward the center, toward the center, toward the center, toward the center. So it gets stronger in an earthquake. It gets stronger. I mean, if an asteroid hits it, I mean, it's going to be gone. But I mean, in an earthquake, you just get this wedging in of these inclined layers, and they're steeply inclined. They're not just two degrees inclined. They're steeply inclined layers. And I've got endless videos about this on my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/Bosnian Pyramids with an S. It will not come up unless you type the whole thing. They're shadow banning it. So you got to type the whole thing. Bosnian Pyramids with an S. All the videos are there. It shows the inclined layers, and they're baked artifacts. They're baked clay stones aligned in layers that are inclined in, and they're all packed into soft clay above and below, and in between. Each stone, each artifact, each unique baked clay stone. There was no molds. It wasn't like rectangular blocks. Each one is totally different. There's curves in them. There's texturing on the top. The texturing is so that the soft clay on top would hold it, so that in an earthquake, the texturing on the top of each stone acts as a way to stick it to the layer above, so it's not sliding anywhere. It's just really strong. So it's genius engineering, soft clay alternating with hard clay all the way. And then on the Pyramid of the Sun, they put massive concrete slabs on the very top, super dense, 133 megapascals, the densest concrete ever, except for some specialty concretes that we could make, but way denser than any concrete that we build for bridges or anything like that. It's really, 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 really hard concrete, clay and river stones. The clay was heated up to 500 degrees Celsius. It's like 900 and something degrees Fahrenheit. And each block is so heavy and so huge, way heavier and way bigger than we could move. We could not move any of these slabs, and they just put them on this 44-degree Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun slope angle. And the reason they did that was to press the concrete. To press the weight of these slabs would press the clay down, and under pressure, there's something called the piezoelectric effect, which creates a scalar field. And Serbian electrical engineer Goran Marjanovic talks about this, and so does Ken Rolla, Rohla. He talks about this in a video called Blueprint for Existence. So go find Blueprint for Existence, Bosnian Pyramids. And the scalar field is helping your health, and it could be part of the creation of the scalar beam that comes up and out of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, which is not just a column, but a spiraling shape that is basically repeating ellipsoids. So the reason we know this is because Goran Marjanovic went on top of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. He took a drone up, and he flew the drone back and forth over this beam. And he's like, what is the shape of the beam? He found the shape, and it was like this: ellipsoid, ellipsoid, ellipsoid. So it's basically like a DNA double helix going like that. Scalar. The reason it's scalar is because the weight of the concrete is pressing on the clay, and the clay is able to create through its crystalline composition this incredible scalar field for kilometers around. So it's a scalar generator. And so academia doesn't want to talk about scalar energy. Tesla did, though. Tesla talked about scalar energy. He called it non-Hertzian waves. The Russian researchers call it torsion fields. So all of that's poo-pooed by academia. They're like, oh, torsion fields don't exist. Non-Hertzian waves don't exist. Scalar energy doesn't exist. So that's what, if you go to university, you're going to get some bullshit. It just totally negates Nikola Tesla. It negates scalar energy. It negates the Bosnian pyramids. It negates real history in favor of some nonsense they made up.